Okay, looks like we're live. We got the sats turned on. We're good to go. Okay, sweet. So this week we're talking, as I listed in the notes here, just about whether or not it's wise to buy or acquire. And I think there are a lot of people online who are pumping this um, acquisition narrative and making it sound glamorous. And I wanted to level set with everyone, share my background, and number one, why am I even qualified to talk about this? Well, since the age of 11, I've started and managed my own businesses. If you guys have followed me, you know I started a lawn care company, ran it for about 8 years, had 15 to 20 lawns every summer. After that, went to school for marketing and sales, got out, worked at a digital marketing agency that focused on small to medium sized businesses and e-commerce businesses. Did that for about 12 years. Joined when the company was less than a 3 4 million in revenue, helped grow it to 100 million in revenue. So I've seen every single small business type in e-commerce you can think of, and have learned intimately what made them fail, what made them successful. And more than just being an account manager myself, I managed a team of 40 people and millions in revenue monthly. So I was always at the top of an organization, in a sense where when one of my team members had an issue with their account or their small business, I was there to help them with strategy, or I was there to help them on, let's say, a save call when their client might be going out the door because their small business is running into X issues and we're helping them solve for this. So there's some level setting. Now, here we are today. If you know me from Twitter, I work at Voltage, VP of Marketing for a Lightning infrastructure company. But before I joined Voltage, I started a digital marketing agency that serves SMBs and growth stage companies with my partner, Alex Wells. He is the CEO running it full time. And we're 2 years in business. We've crossed over a million in revenue. We have about 13 employees, and we're doing the same thing, and it's going great. And so I've been down the path of starting a business from scratch multiple times, and I'm going through the process now of actually buying and acquiring some businesses ourselves, going through the due diligence process, and so on. So there's some background, there's some level setting. Now, let's dive in. So the topic we'll start with here, like I shared, is the pros and cons of starting. So I met with a gentleman yesterday. He's a commercial real estate agent, and he was saying, Bobby, I don't know if I should buy or acquire, or start or buy. And what I was telling him is, I was like, if you're a commercial real estate agent, you probably got a lot more wiggle room than, let's say, someone who's a police officer. My neighbor is a police officer, and he actually started a lawn care company in the last 9 months. And every Saturday, he gets up and mows yards, and sometimes after work, he mows yards. But the first thing that really matters is, like, what type of job do you have? You need to consider that with yourself and think about, if I'm starting a business, is it a digital one where I can kind of be connected all the time? People can manage this from their phone, or is it a physical business where I'm going to have to be present and deliver services to people? Where a police officer, you might be on call, or if you're a commercial real estate agent, you kind of do determine your own fate. You get to do what you want. My father's a real estate agent, and he gets to travel all he wants. He selects who he wants to work with, etc. So, number one, understand the type of job you have before you dive into starting a business, because if you don't have the capital just sitting in the bank to just quit your job and go all in, you need to consider that. Now, when it comes to starting a business, there's two types in my mind, to just really make this simple. There's local businesses that you might start, and for that, you're doing these delivery of services locally. And then there's maybe a digital service where you're not having to buy physical items. You really just need a computer, which most of us have, a phone, and the skill set to write and create content and maybe deliver something digitally. So where does your skill set lie? Try to understand that and think through that. So the pros of the physical business is there's demand in the small business world locally. There's tremendous meat on the bone on that front. Um, from the digital front, you've got more freedom and autonomy, like with how your life flows, in my personal opinion, because you're not having to go and deliver and drive and perform physical services. Now, when it comes to starting a business, like right now, behind the scenes on the weekends, I am personally starting a pressure washing business. And for me, I don't have the time to go pressure wash houses in the middle of the day because I'm working from 7 a.m. till 4 at night. And then after that, I'm spending time with my family. But I'm not letting that stop me. And here's something I want to share with you guys that's really important when it comes to starting is, when I'm starting this pressure washing business, I'm leveraging my digital marketing agency because that's a skill set I have. And I'm asking them to design me a website, build me an SEO content strategy, set up my Google Maps for me. So now I have a website, a 24/7 salesman, if you will, who can explain my services. And I'm building a content strategy so that I can start to rank organically, and I set up a Google Maps. And my personal strategy so that I can do this within the lifestyle I have of being a VP of marketing at a startup is every Saturday I'm going to find one neighbor that will let me pressure wash their house for free. And my goal is to do 8 of them for free, no strings attached. Why am I doing that? Well, while my team is creating content for me, doing some of the stuff on the back end, I'm going to learn how to pressure wash. And it's fairly straightforward. There's tons of information online that helps you learn how to do it. And as soon as I do that for free for them, and this is a $200 to $300 job, potentially more, I'm going to have them leave me a Google My Business review. So let's pause for a second and talk through what this means. I'm leveraging resources I have. And if you don't have a digital marketing agency, that's okay. You can build websites for free with these builders and watch a YouTube video and learn how and build a simple one that frankly will be better than most of the competitors in your area. I'm going to go do the service for free on my own time. And I'm going to ensure that by doing it for free, I'm getting something of evergreen, long-lasting value. And that's a review from these customers. A Google My Maps Google Maps profile for a small business locally. If you start to have over 8 to 10 reviews, you start to be considered legitimate in Google's eyes. The algorithm might start recommending you. You will start showing. And most businesses are lazy on this front. If you're an established business, the normal, like rational thing to do is set up a CRM to manage your customer list, to automate emails. And when you mark a job done, it just sends an email. You don't even have to think about it. And it requests a review from a customer. Well, initially, because I don't have all of this set up, I'm going to perform the job, get the review, and upon having 8 to 10 reviews, my suspicion, because I've done this for a very long time, is that my content strategy is going to catch up. The reviews are going to start generating phone calls for me, which my wife will be helping answering the phone call to start off. And then as lead flow comes in, I can bring someone on part-time and pay them a bit more than I would normally to do one-off jobs for me and help. And then until I get to a point where I can buy a truck and hire an employee full-time. So there's an example for me for starting a business. There's pros, I'm leveraging resources. The cons of doing that is I had to invest around $1,500 to $1,600 to start up buying all the equipment. That's pretty expensive. You know, most of you have a phone, and if you wanted to start a digital business online, you can build a free e-commerce store and you could sell stuff, or, you know, there's a myriad of approaches. You could be a content writer. You might make a Substack, create a YouTube, and start educating on whatever your level of your area of expertise is. So there's some pros and cons of starting just from a base level. And I see 13 of you are here, so feel free to ask questions, plug it in the chat. It's free to chat. There's no cost to put messages in here, and let's make it a dialogue. I'm not just here to rant. So that's a little bit about the pros and cons of starting. In some cases, there's little or no capital. In others, you can make it fit within the free time of your life to then build the business. A little bit, though, about the cons of starting is it is a lot of work. You're having to learn a ton of things. As opposed to buying a business. The gentleman I met with the other day, who's a commercial real estate guy who's looking to buy a business, he met a dude on Craigslist who was 80 years old, who's selling his business, that's 20 to 30 years old. And by acquiring this business, he's actually purchasing this gentleman's time for the next 6 months, because he had in the agreement that the man was going to stay around for 6 months. He has that guy hand holding him and nurturing him to take over the business. Now, by acquiring the business, he already knows what he can improve because he's done his due diligence. But he has someone there who's ran the business who can answer any question he has versus having to solve these on his own by Googling, by having to call and find out, and just kind of going through some of the labor-intensive and neck-breaking work of figuring stuff out. So the con of buying is the con of starting, is that you don't have necessarily every resource directly in front of you when you need it. So that's a little small breakdown there on just the starting piece. And we could go a lot deeper, but I'm trying to keep this high level, and we'll get more nuanced as we move forward week over week. The pros and cons of buying. Well, the pros of buying, especially if you're buying an established business, you're typically not buying one that's doing a very small amount of revenue that isn't established and sustainable. If you're buying a business, you're typically buying one that's doing, maybe $250,000, $500,000 in revenue. Ideally, it would be pushing close to or over a million in revenue, because by leveraging an SBA loan, if you look at the statistics and the data, if a business is doing over a million in revenue, the likeliness of it failing is incredibly low, because it's hit this hurdle of sorts of sustainability. And that's what's good. Typically, those businesses, the operator who's working it is taking home 100, 200,000 or more dollars, and it's already sustainable. So by leveraging a loan and you acquiring something that is functioning and doing well, you can pay off that debt and pay yourself at the same time. So that's a pro of buying a business. And like I mentioned, the con of starting is you don't have someone there who can support you. When you go to buy a business, typically that operator would stick around for 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, to support you. And when you buy a business, you can creatively structure some of these deals and tell the person who's selling it to you, hey, I will give you 5% of all sales until the first year hits, and everything we accelerate past that, I'll give you, let's say, 6%, because I've grown your business and I'm incentivizing you to stay around and be a resource to me. And you can structure agreements in that way. And of course, there's wiggle room and all these things where they might abuse it, and you have to like trust they're going to be good to you. There's lawyers and people who will support you with all of that. We're not here to get into the nuance of all of that. But my point is, when you're buying, you can creatively structure these deals and have access to tremendous resources that you would not otherwise have. The cons of buying a business, and this is what a lot of people don't talk about, it's really, really hard to find a business that is already performing well and qualified, that has room for you to improve it. Typically, when you buy a business, you're either an operations minded person that knows how to do process creation, or to motivate employees, inspire and encourage better performance. Or maybe you're like me, where your skill set is majority knowing how to build marketing funnels and to grow a small business and just do all of the right things, which 90% of businesses don't do. And then some of my skill set is operations and whatnot. But my partner, Alex, at our digital marketing agency, that's what he thrives at. That's what he's great at. I'm more of visionary sales, marketing, etc. So there's benefits to having partners, but typically when you're buying a business, you're buying something that is working and functioning well, but there's rooms to improvement, and you need to understand what your skill set is so that you can add that value and make those improvements. What's up, Anita? Let's go. Let's get after it. I love it. So those are some pros and cons of buying, and that one topic alone could be a 4 to 5 hour thing. And I want to share this with you. There's 2 books I've mentioned a lot, and you'll see people who are in the SMB Twitter space talk about. There's the HBR Guide to Buying a Small Business. This is a 30-plus-year-old playbook that the rich private equity people have done for a very long time. Believe it or not, buying small businesses outperforms real estate. It's the backbone of America, Definitely read this book and learn more. It gets into a lot of technical detail. And then this gentleman, Walker Deibel, he's one of the first people who really made this known online. It wasn't Cody Sanchez and a lot of these popular socialites. Walker was one of the people years ago who was talking about it and wrote a book on it. And one of his big things he talks about was when he started, he bought 4 completely different businesses. And that was really hard because you're having to jump from business to business that have unique problems, that have unique customer avatars or demographics you're serving. And it's really challenging to jump back and forth, where when you buy a business, and this is very, very important. When you buy a business and you acquire one, typically the ideal thing you would do if you want to continue growing or continue acquiring is buy another business that's just like it and roll it up under the business you own. So if you bought an HVAC company, you might acquire another one and another one and another one and build up a large customer list, reoccurring business, finding ways to increase lifetime value. And when it comes to the long-term strategy for owning a business or buying it, is you typically will do one of 2 things. Ideally, you don't just shut it down when you're ready to retire. You would sell that asset to someone else because it's a productive asset. And the more your business grows, the more sustainable it is. Going at $1 million revenue, the business might sell for 2 times the seller discretionary earnings, meaning the money you take home. So if you're taking home $200K a year, someone might buy it from you for $400,000. But as you get into higher revenue numbers, the sale of the business is based on EBITDA. And you can Google that. Here's how you spell it, EBITDA. do that in the chat for you guys, just so you can save that term and understand it. But that's just the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. A lot of technical jargon there, but you can go Google what that means. And the more revenue you do, the higher valuation it gets, the more multiple you can sell for. So because the business is sustainable, it's a larger player in the marketplace, it has been proven to be resilient. You can sell it instead of at a 2x multiple, you might sell for 3 or 4x or 5x and so on. So there's that. Those are good, important things. Now, pros and cons of starting, we covered pros and cons of buying, and like I mentioned, that could be much deeper. I want to talk about how not to fail, because one wild fact and important thing is 75% of small businesses fail within the first 2 years. That's a lot to swallow. That gets in the way for a lot of people and stops them from starting a business. But that's also why a lot of people love acquiring businesses. Someone else has already done all the hard work for you of starting it. Now your job is to acquire it and now to grow it and take advantage of the weaknesses and exploit them and make it better and add more value. So how not to fail? Considering 75% of small businesses fail in 2 years, and then of the 25% that live on, that continue, majority of those fail over the next 2 to 3 years. So at the end of the day, most small businesses fail. That's just a fact of the matter. And this is why our government gives tremendous tax incentives to small businesses, because they are the risk takers. They are the entrepreneurs. Everyone thinks, oh, these people get rich, we need to tax them more. Well, most of these guys and women, they're the ones taking risks to even get started in the first place, to start. Because when you start a business, the bank doesn't always just give you money. A lot of times you have to bootstrap it and fund it yourself. But when you acquire a business, the SBA is just like, hey, you're buying a business that works. Take our money. So entrepreneurs take a lot of risk and they get a lot of reward because they're building what is the fabric of society. Most of the businesses in America are small businesses, over 70% of them. So when it comes to not failing, the thing you have to ask yourself is, do I want to build something from scratch or do I want to acquire? And starting from something from scratch is great because you can build the culture from the ground up. You're not buying and inheriting a team of employees, a team of, you could have contractors, partners, all these people. Like when you're buying a business, you're having to interview everyone along the line, and not interview like, am I going to keep you, but interview and just see, am I going to be even a culture fit for this team? Because that team is going to be what really helps carry you. But when you start a business from scratch, you get to define all of that, which I think is great for those of you who do have vision and do have that drive and desire. Now, as far as failure goes, I think one of the best ways to not have failure is just relentlessly pursuing what you're doing. Like when I started at my agency back in 2013, I didn't know, frankly, shit about digital marketing. I went to school for marketing, but school doesn't teach you anywhere near as much as you need to know in the modern world today with the internet. And I would literally every day wake up at 4:15, show up to work at 4:45. Office didn't open until 7, but I would just show up and read 2 to 3 hours every morning. And I did that for about 3 to 4 years. And it got to a point where, because no one, what kind of freak does that, right? Like who's typically that dedicated? Very few. So I very quickly within the first year rose to be one of the top performers because I was always just diligently doing what 99% of people won't do. And it created results that 99% of people don't create. So if you don't want to fail, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. You had better be ready to grind and to work incredibly hard and do what the average person's not going to do, because most of these businesses, they just, operate with what we've always done. You see that joked about in movies. I saw it in the BlackBerry movie this last week where they were talking about innovation in phones and computers. And that was the stance of some of these people who are in leadership. You can't think that way in this world. It's changed a lot. So are you cut from a different cloth? Are you born to do that? And if you are, I think this is something, you could definitely pursue, because you have to have resilience. You have to have grit. You have to not quit in order to be successful. But if you have any inkling of not being driven or committed, locked in, then, it may not be for you. All right. Still keeping 18 of y'all here. That's great. Feel free to throw questions in. So how not to fail, I think those are key things. And you need to be able to manage your risk. Like starting a business that you can slowly build over time and turn into something sustainable is important. Like the pressure washing company. my goal for the next 6 months is just to do 1 yard every weekend. And over 6 months, that's 24 reviews. And I'm not in a race to make it profitable because, I have a job, I have other investments and things, but my goal is to build something that could last 40 years and that can, be built into something great. So I'm taking time to do that and not trying to rush into it and, keeping my risk profile low. So we talked digital versus physical earlier, but I want to cover that a little bit more. If any of you guys are considering a business, feel free to share it down below. But one thing is for certain, the digital business space has gotten really popular. You can tell by like the rise in direct to consumer brands. Like you can sell your products online direct to the consumer in the digital space. Granted, you do have physical goods, but you're not going and delivering a physical service typically in your local small community. Other digital businesses that are here now is you can write a course. There's websites like Gumroad, Gumroad, and other websites that let you sell your expertise or course. And one thing I believe in is just giving away all of the knowledge you have for free. Like I'm doing that now. There's 22 of you here tapped in listening, and I'm just telling you everything I've learned. I'm not selling anything. In fact, I'm giving away free Bitcoin to you guys for Christ's sake. So that's one thing I think is really important is you should just give away as much information as possible, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve others, not just to serve ourselves, but more importantly, if you are adding value in other people's lives, if you do decide to sell something in the future, they'll buy it. And for me, this has led to a lot of fruit because people are just like, yeah, this guy knows his stuff. And Alex told me yesterday we had a big law firm come through our lead funnel due to Twitter and just due to talking about marketing and just sharing our story and what our brand does. So whatever you're passionate about, whatever share it, give it away online. If you want to build a digital business, do that. And one of the biggest things that I believe, whether you're in digital or physical business space, is we're seeing a shift in the world. 84% of Gen Z want to be entrepreneurs now. Saw an article this morning with a bunch of data, like the tide's turning. People don't want to be W-2 employees. People are tired of, how they've been treated, and just we've experienced some freedom with COVID where you can work from home. And frankly, like the tools that are out there for entrepreneurs and content creators are amazing. So as an entrepreneur, as someone who has that capability, I think for you, building an online presence, whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or whatever, is meaningful. Because if there's a job application and you're going for it, and let's say you're not trying to start a business, if you're applying for a job, the company is looking at who do we think is going to be great. Resumes just lie about people, they're shit. But if someone has a YouTube channel, if they have a Twitter, if they have a blog, if they're sharing their thoughts, I can get a deep, intimate look into who they are, how they think, what they believe. And it can give me clear insights into, are they going to fit into our company culture? Are they going to bring value? And one of the things, if a lot of you are here from the Bitcoin community, you've probably seen like some Bitcoin companies, they hire incredibly well socially connected people, and those people have reach. And if those people are doing a good job in terms of their intellectual prowess or their emotional intelligence and how they connect with people online, it's an extension of the brand. You represent a brand, and you hear people say like, these views are my own. And it's kind of funny we say that because like it's almost like companies own us nowadays, but that's not the case. But what we are seeing happening is employees can create value for companies. And that's why influencers are popular. Celebrities from Hollywood are no longer the money makers. It's influencers on social media. It's real people. So businesses, they are going to be hiring for the reach and the personal brand these people have beyond their skill set. So if you want to get a great job, or you want to build a business and you want to attract talent and hardworking people that align with you, you should really consider being present on Twitter, sharing your mind, creating content, creating videos, because you're either going to be getting a job because you're differentiated from people, or you're going to be hiring and bringing on employees that align with your values and your mission in this world, and you're going to get the cream of the crop as it relates to talent. So seriously consider that. I truly believe that what we're going to see happen is those who do create content online and have a lot of reach, they will be able to command higher pay and higher commission structure, because the way we can track like digital content online is very easy. So you could see like on your analytics that, hey, Bobby generated 20 leads for the business this month just because people engage with his content online and like him, and we see the referral source for this lead was his Twitter, or they've deeply engaged with them and so on. Maybe you write articles on your blog and it links to the business, who knows? But there's a lot of ways where this can de facto be measured, and you should strategically be thinking about that because you're a powerful tool in the marketplace to your employer. Or if you're aiming to hire people, again, you will be able to hire people that align with your values and mission. All right. Building a team. This is one of the most important things. So for the last 2 years, I've been kind of fearful talking about like all of the things that I do because I have a digital agency that's 2 years old. I have a CEO that runs it, my partner, Alex Wells, and we have 13 employees. I work for a private equity group. We have deals done and we're raising $10 million to invest in a fund to give money to entrepreneurs who are buying businesses, and we are their advisory board. And I'm starting a pressure washing business. You know, whenever you're online and you work for a company, the last thing you want to do is project, hey, I have all these things going. The last CEO I worked for, he actually told employees to their face, he would just say, yeah, you're not allowed to do other things. And I think that's what a lot of young people are getting sick and tired of. And that's why a lot of people posture online, is because bosses and people that run companies, they're basically like, yeah, you can't do anything else. And if you do, you know, you're under threat. Like, you know, you may not have a job here. And that's why people, I think, want to be entrepreneurs, is they're tired of being under the thumb of just a whip cracking slavery mindset type CEO or business owner who just says, you have to work here, I pay you good, you shouldn't have to do something else. Well, the tides have turned, my friend. If you're a CEO who thinks and lives like that, you've got a major problem, because nearly every single person in Gen Z and some of these other gens, they're doing something else, and by God, they have to, because the money's broken, and they need to form some other way in which they can earn the cash they need to sustain their life. So, if your workplace doesn't respect that, you know, that's on them. But that doesn't mean you, as an employee, are now allowed to half-ass your job and not deliver results. If you're not delivering results, that is a major problem, and your boss should come down on you. But that's another topic. But all in all, the world is shifting where you can do things outside. But the most important thing, back to my point, is you have to have a team. You cannot do all this all by yourself. The digital agency, I don't work in it full time, but I'm an advisor. I'm a co-founder. The private equity group, it's a team of 5 people. It's not just me doing it. And with the pressure washing company, I'm doing it on Saturday on my free time, and my wife supports me with that, and she helps me. The biggest thing that helps you be successful is a team. You can't do stuff alone. And I know there's a lot of these people on Twitter who are like solo entrepreneurs who just like wake up with their computer and write and like sell courses and stuff. If that's you, awesome. Crush it. Have a great time. For me, I love people. And yeah, as a solo entrepreneur, you can meet people, you can work at coffee shops, have freedom to travel the world. But what I love doing more than anything is working with people, having a common goal with other people and pursuing that common goal with other people, working through the sweat, the shit, the challenges and the problems, and overcoming it with them. And one of the most fun things you can do, especially as an operator and a business owner, is inspire people. Like, one of the things nowadays when it comes to buying a business is, if you buy a business and a lot of the team is lazy and the prior founder did a really shitty job at building a strong company culture and a passion within the employees to do a good job, you have to acquire and repair that and fix that culture. Well, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to be a problem. You can attract people that align with your values. And yeah, as far as building a team, the most important thing, I think, is being mission minded and aligned with people who have the same values as you, who have the desire for creating results and success as you do. So yeah, I mean, I could keep going. We're about 29 minutes in, but drop questions, say something if you guys want. It's always challenging to know, like, are people here just to get some free Bitcoin, or are they here because they're like, hey, I'm really pursuing small business, but I'm going to keep giving out Bitcoin as much as I can, because I think it's just such a cool incentive model and like way that Vita has set it up. But I hope this is helpful. I hope it's clarifying and kind of leads you and points you in a direction to like further clarify and expedite your research and decision making. But there's a lot of opportunity out there, and you definitely won't be able to do it alone in most cases. Some of you can, and more power to you. But I'm a people person. I love working with a team. I love the capabilities that creates and the opportunity for growth. And I have some mentors who say, instead of owning 100% of one thing, I would rather own a small fraction of a percent of many things. And what's great about that is I've had so much opportunity arise in my life from being in Bitcoin, now for like 5 or 6 years, from being in digital marketing for 10 to 15 years, being in private equity, real estate, and now small business acquisition for 5 to 6 years, and just the people I've met, the connections I've made, and just the opportunities that have come from it have been completely life changing. So that's really exciting and really cool to be able to do that. But yeah, I don't have too much more to say. But if you ever want to chat one on one or get some support, Vita, this app we're on streaming right now, they have the ability where you can like book calls, and I priced it like pretty cheap. Feel free to like book a call, or if you just want to DM me on Twitter, feel free to do that. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'd love to connect and just help you how I can, and even point you in a direction. But it's fun doing this. I do it every Friday when I can at 10 a.m. Eastern. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, and hope this was valuable to you. And yeah, it's really cool to see such a big list of people show up. So thank you for just being supportive and using Vita. So I hope you have a wonderful week. Happy Friday. Be blessed, and give me a shout. We'll talk again soon. Bye.